Hey, good morning, everybody. Today I am absent, so I'm going to do this little video for you here today. Has to do with the parallel structure handout that I gave you the last time. And in case you're wondering what parallel structure is, it has to do with items in a list. If you take out your handout, you can see here it says all items in a list must make sense with the stem. And we'll talk about what the stem is in just a little bit. And it must take the same grammatical form. We'll take a look at some examples of how that works. So we have a correct or an incorrect version and a corrected version. The incorrect version says my jobs included taking out the trash, walking the dog, and I also had to clean out the gutters. So when we talk about the stem, we're talking about the part of the sentence that the rest of the sentence branches off of. So my jobs included. My jobs included taking out the trash. That makes sense. My jobs included walking the dog. That makes sense. My jobs included and I also had to clean out the gutters doesn't make sense. So you can see that the last item in the list is the non-parallel item, and that's what we need to take care of. The corrected version, on the other hand, says my jobs included taking out the trash. My jobs included walking the dog. My jobs included cleaning out the gutters. So you can see that each of these items in the list, taking, walking, and cleaning, are all ing verbs, and then there's a noun that comes after it. So this list is balanced. It's everything comes in the same grammatical form, and it sets up your reader to expect a particular pattern, and this is the pattern that we follow through with. And that's what good writing is made of, essentially, is setting up good patterns and following through with those patterns. All right, let's take a look then at some of the specifics here. It says that we'll take a look at the first part of this. Parallel structure only concerns items in a list. So if you don't have items in a list, you don't have to worry about parallel structure. Writers should learn to check for parallel structure anytime a list is present. All right, the strategy is to determine where the stem of the sentence ends. The stem works just like the stem of a plant with various elements branching from it. It is the common beginning to the items in the list. Parallel construction is useful because it allows us to combine elements and avoid unnecessary repetition, or otherwise known as redundancy. You may have heard that term. Otherwise, we would end up with awkward, ineffective style, as in the following example. If we don't have parallel structure, we end up with sentences that look like this. At the amusement park, I'm going to ride roller coasters. At the amusement park, I'm going to eat lots of junk food. At the amusement park, I'm going to take selfies with my friends. So you see how that awkward repetition would be really tedious, not only for you as a writer or a speaker, but also for other people to listen to. And so this is what we have. We have parallel structure that helps us avoid those kinds of things. And parallel structure is like a tool, and any tool can be used to help us out, but it can also create some problems if we don't use it effectively. So here we see kind of an illustration of what I mean by the stem, and then all the little branches that come off of the stem, and you can see that each one of those begins with a verb, and then a noun, a verb, and a noun, a verb, and a noun. So everything is parallel. All right, each element in the stem, in the list, makes sense with the stem individually. If each individual element does not make sense with the stem, then the construction is non-parallel, and chances are it's not going to make sense to your reader. All right, so there are a couple of different strategies. We'll take a look at some ways to fix the non-parallel constructions. And the strategy A is to identify the non-parallel item and put it into the same grammatical form as the other items in the list. That's exactly what we did on the very first sample that we saw. Or if the item in the list really doesn't belong in the list anyway, it's so different from everything in the list that it doesn't really belong there, then you just take the non-parallel item out of the list and put it somewhere else, either in the same sentence or perhaps in a sentence by itself. So let's take a look at some of the two different strategies. So the sentence above Let's go ahead and capture the whole thing here. They started kicking, screaming, and then they ran away. All right, so they started is the stem. They started kicking, that makes sense. They started screaming, that makes sense. They started, then they ran away, doesn't make sense with the stem. So we have to do something to remedy that situation. Letter A incorporates the strategy A. They started kicking, screaming, and running away. So ing verb, ing verb, ing verb. That's parallel, but it may not be exactly what you want to say. The other strategy is to take that non-parallel item, then they ran away, and move it somewhere else into the sentence. After they started kicking and screaming, they ran away. So now no longer is this element part of the list. It's in the same sentence, in a different part of the sentence, but it's no longer a part of the list. So now A and B both are correct. Let's take a look at another example. The fisherman set the hook, reeled in the line, but at the last minute the fish broke loose. All right, example 2 is not parallel because not every item makes sense individually with the stem. Here are the individual items. The fisherman set the hook, the fisherman reeled in the line, the fisherman at the last minute the fish broke loose. So you can see how that last item is not parallel. And very often it's the last item that's not parallel because we establish a pattern and then some other idea pops into our heads and we just feel like we have to write it down right away rather than putting it into a form that our readers can understand. So let's take a look at what we can do to fix this sentence. The fisherman set the hook, reeled in the line. So we have 2 items in the list. The fisherman set the hook, the fisherman reeled in the line. Those make sense. But then we kind of go off on a different direction here. But at the last minute, the fish broke loose. All right, there's a really simple solution to this. All you have to do is put the word and right here before reeled. The fisherman set the hook and reeled in the line. So you know that a conjunction like and is going to be the last thing you put in a list. So whenever you have a list of things, you say A, B, and C, you know that conjunction and is going to signal the last thing in the list. So in this case, you would say and here. You only have 2 items in the list, and the rest of this is a completely different element by itself. So you have lots of different options to correct your non-parallel strategies. And here we have some good news. The good news is that there's no single way to fix a non-parallel construction. Many possible solutions exist. So try different approaches, try different combinations, and try to figure out which one gets the idea across the best. Now comes the fun part. So we have some examples at the end, and you get to finish each of these with whatever you want to put in here. Anything that makes sense and anything that follows the pattern. So the pattern begins with we started mowing the lawn, raking the leaves, and now all you have to do is find an ing verb that fits this. Something like picking up the sticks or raking the mulch, or doing something like that, right? Something that fits the context. And I'm going to let you finish the rest of that by yourselves. We have 15 of these on the first page, and then it continues with 5 more on the next page. And then I'd like for you to for tomorrow, for homework, finish exercise number 2. And for exercise number 2, each one of those items has a non-parallel element. All you have to do is identify that element and then use one of those strategies to take care of it. And I want you to write directly on the page. I want you to use one of those strategies to change it and to make it into a parallel construction. All right, I will let you know though on this one that there are a couple of them that are a little bit more challenging. Number 2 is pretty challenging. Number 3 is pretty challenging. I think the rest of them, well, number 9 is pretty challenging also. The rest of them you should be able to handle pretty well. So if you want to just do your best on those 3 difficult ones, and we'll come back tomorrow and discuss what we need to do with those. And if you're having trouble, we'll discuss those. But that's your assignment for next time. And I hope you all have good luck doing that. And I will see you next week. So have a great weekend. Bye-bye.